Hey guys, welcome to a new weekly watching update video. I hope you all had a happy new year, and with that said, let's get started. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I've been a fan of the original film for years, and it's taken me a long time to see this. After seeing it, I could conclude that the film is very different, and I'm quite glad for that. Making a film in the same style as the first would have been pointless and difficult to execute, so I thought that putting emphasis on dark comedy and gore helped it stand out from the original and allowed it to have some disturbing qualities of its own. Bill Moseley was enjoyably over the top as Chop Top, and Dennis Hopper was also a lot of fun, even though I found him hard to take seriously at times. It definitely isn't anywhere near as good as the original horror masterpiece from 1974, but it was still a really good horror movie. Cujo. I saw this because the DVD was extremely cheap and it was based on a Stephen King novel. While it isn't anything really special, the premise is interesting and the film does have some pretty tense moments. The scenes in the car towards the end are so damn suspenseful, and the dog was a creepy horror villain, but I feel that the human characters are too much of a bore, which made the film feel slow in some parts. The acting also isn't anything special. In general, the horror aspects of it are pretty good, but the film has a lot that it could have improved on. Hereafter. Film critics weren't exactly generous towards this movie. They felt that the film built up to something that never came, and that the drama was unsatisfying, but I'm gonna have to say that I disagree. I love Clint Eastwood as a director, and I think that this movie is really underrated. All three of the stories told in the movie interested me a lot, my favourite of which is the story of the psychic, played by Matt Damon. And the film has a great exploration of different things, all related to the topic of death. I felt that some aspects of the film didn't really contribute enough to the story, but despite that, the film went by really quickly for me because of the high enjoyment factor. The performances were great, and the ending definitely pleased me. It's not Clint Eastwood's best movie by a long shot, but I still liked it quite a lot. Up. A lot of people said they loved this film since it was so moving, but I didn't have exactly the same response, but the fun factor is still really large, and that definitely kept the movie going for me. The animation is great, and the main characters are very likable, notably Mr. Fredricksen, who I swear is a caricature of Martin Scorsese. However, I feel that at times, the film didn't balance the more adult aspects, such as the themes of old age and death, and the more child-friendly aspects, like the talking dogs, very well. It's not my least favourite Pixar movie, but I would still say that the movie is overrated to an extent. It's definitely a good movie, just nothing brilliant. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I like this movie, but I do have some nitpicks here and there. Starting with the positives, I think that the movie has great performances by Michael Cera and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, witty dialogue, an interesting form of presentation, and a cool resemblance to video games. And as far as negatives go, I feel that quite often the film is relying too much off of its own style, and that there isn't quite enough substance to carry it along its length. The action sequences do have some great cinematography, but they're very drawn out and ruin what would have been good pacing, and generally just take away from the story. The film is good, but there are some large issues, in my opinion, and it hurts the experience, and just because it's inventive doesn't mean it can properly make up for the mistakes. I liked Edgar Wright's earlier film Shaun of the Dead a lot more, but I'd still recommend seeing this. Bronco Billy. I have to say that after watching this, it is an extremely underrated movie, and I don't know why this isn't more well known. It was directed by and stars Clint Eastwood. The direction is generally good, but nothing too special, and you can see that Eastwood got better as time went on, but his performance is great, and the character Bronco Billy is just so likable. I like how this film really just enforced the idea that any random nobody could just start doing what they love, and the changes that are experienced by Miss Lily assist in reinforcing this idea. It also has the message to keep trying and move on with life even when bad things happen. I'd also consider it to be kind of a contemporary western. It's just a really cool movie with likable characters that has a definite rewatch value. See Bronco Billy if you haven't. Unbreakable. I've had this on DVD for such a long time, and I finally got around to seeing it yesterday. I didn't like it as much as Shyamalan's previous film The Sixth Sense, but it still had the same greatness in terms of character development and story twists. Bruce Willis delivers a brilliant performance, and Samuel L. Jackson is also great in his role too. The two men have great chemistry. On top of that, I thought that the twist ending was great, even though I had already been anticipating it. There's also quite a bit of symbolism in there, and an interesting theme centered around comic books. There do exist people that don't really like this movie, but I've never really understood why that is. The film is suspenseful, well-directed, and full of originality. The 400 Blows. Never have I seen a film by director Francois Truffaut, and I can say that this was a nice one to start off with when regarding his filmography. The direction of this film was excellent, the photography is beautiful, and the coming-of-age story about young Antoine is moving, and reflects the struggles of the lower class living in post-war France, and a more serious side towards the concept of growing up. The actors all do very well, notably the boy who plays Antoine, and the woman who played his mother, who I must say was quite a looker. The film was one of the earlier films of the French New Wave, and these kinds of films are often ones that regular viewers aren't able to sit through due to the massive emphasis on the artistic qualities. But personally, I think that this one works really well as a film to appeal to the everyday audience simply for the engaging story. The 400 Blows is a great movie that I think that you should check out. The Adventures of Tintin. I was anticipating this for a while since this was the first animated film to be done by Steven Spielberg. I've never read the Tintin comics, but it has no effect on the enjoyment factor of this movie since it runs very much like an original work. Notably, the animation is outstanding, and the choice of shots that accompany it are even better, but the story and character development are also quite fantastic. Tintin and the captain are incredibly likable characters, as is the villain. The film never lets action get in the way of the plot too much, and also has a good level of humour in it too. Many have described it as very Raiders of the Lost Ark-esque, and I can see where they are coming from when they make that statement. The adventurous feel is created perfectly, and there are just too many aspects of it that can be compared to Indiana Jones. It's not among Spielberg's very best, but I would say it's among the best he has done in a long time. Shadow of a Doubt. While I am a huge fan, I have not been able to see all of Alfred Hitchcock's films yet, and this is the one I just got around to watching. What can you expect? This movie was awesome. The suspense factor is enormous and gradually gets better as the film goes on. I kinda like how this one conveyed its suspense simply through dialogue and mystery. There isn't really any immediate threat to the characters, but the tension is all built off of paranoia and what one doesn't know, which I think can really be scary when done properly. Joseph Cotten delivers a wonderful and completely unsuspecting performance as Uncle Charlie, and Teresa Wright is equally great as his niece, also named Charlie. I also think that while black and white was probably the only option, it helped give the film a nice shadowy look prevalent in the film noir genre. Overall, this is just a really great movie and one of my favourite films of the 1940s. Anyways guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.